Today I'd like to talk about deglobalization in regards to the three biggest economic items I think will be affected. Number one is the currency, number two is food, and number three is energy. Now food and energy we'll cover in other videos, but today let's look at the currency one. And it seems that the narrative is that we are deglobalizing, which I personally agree with, okay? I think that this transition is going to take 3 to 10 years, but that you can come up with your own opinion there. And we have now walked into a world where everyone's like, the dollar's done, and what's going to replace it? This is the discussion. Is it going to be BRICs? Is it going to be gold? Is it going to be the yuan? Is it going to be crypto? All these questions every day. And so what I'd like to look at is what is actually happening in the real world, as there are many countries out there who do not want to trade in the US dollar. We know that. They say it every single day. So what is global trade? Well, in 2023, it was almost $6.9 trillion, okay? And I just saw yesterday that the shipping companies in 2023 made $220 billion move in this $6.9 trillion, okay? And then you can read the rest here, just about US trade. Now the dollar still remains, it represents 58% of the value of foreign reserve holdings worldwide. So these are central banks holding the dollar as a reserve currency for themselves, all right? Now the euro, the second most used currency, comprised only 20% of foreign reserve holding. I remember when this was 40-some%. The only reason I'm saying this is anyone's been following me, you know my narrative on Europe. I don't know if we're going to make it through, okay? Now finally, down the bottom here, is that 88% of all currency transactions involve the US dollar in 2023. 88%, which by the way, is an all-time high for the dollar. So we seem to have a slight disconnect between the public discourse on what is happening with our currencies, and especially the dollar, and what is actually happening with the currency, all right? And we've had a couple things over the last 2 months that shows the difficulties that other countries have because no one actually believes anything else is a reserve currency. So Russia here has agreed to accept mandarins instead of money amid payment difficulties, okay, from Pakistan. So here we go. The question I want everyone to think about is, this is Russia, we're talking about China, we're talking about India, we're talking about major countries in this world with tremendous financial heft, with every kind of programmer, with their own banking systems, everything is there. And yet, without the dollar, they actually can't even trade with each other. Now, Peter Zion comments on this. He said, this is happening because Pakistan didn't want rubles, and because Russia didn't want the rupee, and neither one of them, whatever the hell the BRICs currency is called, and because Russia can't access US dollars, which remain an intermediary and almost all international trade. So basically, Pakistan is sending accept payments of Pakistani tangerines for Russian chickpeas and lentils. This is what we call bartering. Now in that article, they go on to explain that they're going to be doing, 15 tons of chickpeas and 10,000 tons of lentils for 15 tons of mandarins and 10,000 tons of potatoes. And this is all done because of difficulty with mutual payments. What this means is they can't decide on another currency other than the dollar to make the payments in, just like Zion pointed out, okay? And they also point out in this article that in August, Russia and China, after a 3-day summit between Xi and Putin, they decided that, I think it's called Quira, Q-U-I-R-A. It's a barter exchange app developed by the Russians that the Chinese and the Russians says that they'll let their companies try to exchange different goods. So far, there's been no exchanges since no one can agree on how to do the exchange. Now, I totally believe that we're deglobalizing. I get it, okay? And I realize there are pitfalls with the currency. But I think that the narratives have gone to the edge instead of to the middle. And the edge is because we're deglobalizing, the dollar is dead and it's going to be replaced, all right? Now listen, we were on the gold standard before. We got off it because it was totally inflexible, and all you have to do is go back and read The Panic of 1907 and you'll realize we will never be on the gold standard again, ever. So, nice thoughts, not happening, okay? Then the second thing is there's no currency for someone to trade in. India controls their currency. They don't want it outside the country. China, same thing. 1.4% of the renminbi is tradable outside of China. They want control of their currencies. They're never going to give that up. Never going to give that up. So that leaves us with crypto, right? And you have to ask yourself, okay, crypto is global. It's huge. There's trillions of dollars of it out there. There should be no reason for these countries not to accept crypto, right? And on the face of it, there's no reason for them not to accept it. Yet no one accepts it. No one. No one even talks about it. Notice in these articles, they don't even speak about crypto. So what does that tell us? It tells us that even though countries of tremendous financial heft who have global trade, the number one trader in the world, China, the number one oil producer or shipper, Russia, nobody wants crypto. What does that tell you? Okay? So in the real world, when people are making the decision to get off of the dollar, which for whatever reason doesn't bother me, I don't care, okay? The point is when they get off, they barter with each other. They don't use any other means of exchange but to barter. So now in the last 2 months, we've had 2 instances where these countries have made decision, and the decision on both cases was let's barter. No gold, no crypto, no yuan, no rupee, no nothing. Just let's barter. So what does that tell us about what currency is going to dominate in the future? And we'll do another video in the future and say, okay guys, let's say deglobalization, everything collapses, whatever scenario you want to come up with, and then let's take a look at what's left and see which currency after the transition will be the number one currency. And I believe if anyone does any kind of, legwork on this, you're going to find out it's going to be the US dollar. Like and follow, and certainly, let's get your comments.